You didn't want to watch Nosferatu with me. It's fucking Sean was
I don't wanna
snoring
watch
halfway
it.
through. You didn't want to watch it.
Never
Okay.
snored. Never snored.
I watch movies with Sean when he was at his lowest, and he's fine. He's okay.
Sean was so happy. He's just like,
Wait,
ooh.
wait. What do you mean my lowest?
God,
Yeah,
I'll
what
never
was that?
forget that Deadpool experience where you're just like, excuse me, can I talk to the manager here? It's hot. God, this is ridiculous.
He was. He's like, I think he was pushing for a free drink, but he
No,
never
was
got it.
110 in that theater. It was 110. It was so hot.
He kept doing this. It's so hot, and I'm empty of my drink.
All right, let's get into the movie here. Welcome to Three and a Half Gentlemen, the podcast where three of the four hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, while one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me, as always, are my co-aeronauts, perhaps, Jeremiah.
You're the ghost of your own children's future, yo. What up?
Eddie.
Our greatest accomplishments cannot be behind us because our destiny lies above us.
Ooh.
And Brandon.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
Ooh, I feel Zimmer's like score behind me when I heard that right there. Ooh.
I'm happy that we all chose one.
As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question: how many drinks does it take to get through the film that we just watched? Now, at the end of the podcast, we'll rate each episode based on a scale of 0 to 5, with 0 being the perfect episode that you could watch stone cold sober, and 5 being sort of the episode that makes you feel as though your family and your friends have grown old and died while you stay the same age, because of quantum mechanics or the theory of relativity.
Relativity, there you go. Yeah.
Anytime something falls in your house, you question it now, I bet.
It's
I
you
question
in the
everything.
future.
Absolutely everything.
Well, so you like your horror movies. Anyway,
I do.
listen, in 2067, Earth is all but uninhabitable because of a global crop issue, famine, and the emergence of a second dust bowl. NASA pilot Cooper must travel through wormholes and face black holes in outer space in order to find a habitable planet to save humanity. This 2014 Christopher Nolan epic stars Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain, Matt Damon, and Michael Caine. I haven't yet put the name of the movie yet, apparently, because Sean did the first go through. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at Interstellar, which is Christopher Nolan's film.
I love how I retroactively get blamed when I didn't write it. I didn't have anything to do with this script. I didn't have anything to do with the script.
Isn't even there.
The script is all you, buddy. It is all. I did not have anything to do
And
with
we're
it.
already like,
Somebody's a ghost here.
Whatever new listeners we got, we just lost them. Anyway, Interstellar, the movie that we're going to be talking about today, has an IMDb rating of 8.7 out of 10 and has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 72% with the critics and an audience score of 87%. Shockingly, surprisingly, we'll talk about it.
You know what? You forgot Casey Affleck and also Timothy Chalamet. Yeah.
You forgot Wes Bentley. Come on, Wes Bentley was awesome.
He's got the most beautiful eyes. My God, that
He's
guy.
got a great beard, dude.
He's got a great jawline.
All right, enough about Wes Bentley. Let's move on.
I feel like going surfing with him. Anyways, so we try and pair our movies or series with a cocktail that we hope will enhance our viewing experience. Tonight, the cocktail we are enjoying is called Interstellar. The ingredients and description can be found on our Instagram page, where you can also find fun facts, images, trailers, and clips from our podcast.
It's good that he put the title of the film in the drink portion, but not in the what movie are we reviewing portion, Sean.
What's our Instagram page?
Once again, you wrote the script, and the Instagram is @the.gentleman. The dot means a lot.
There you go.
@the.gentleman. And if you're listening to us on any platform podcasts are available, we thank you so much, and we invite you over to our YouTube channel, where you can find videos of our new episodes, plus our Gentleman weekly discussions, and some behind-the-scenes flubs and outtakes, I'm sure, from this episode, because we can't seem to pull it together at all for Season 6 premiere episode. Please
We haven't done this before.
enjoy our review, and again, head on over to YouTube, ring that bell, subscribe, and we'll remind you at the end of the podcast as well. This is new for us. We're on video. You can see our bright and shining faces and Ed's lack of light, and we can move on. All right, so let's talk about Interstellar. 2014, Christopher Nolan's offering, just re-released on Netflix. If you guys are looking for a place to watch it, you can always pause our episode right here and go watch it on the Netflix. It's number 5 in the movies as of today.
Come right back.
In the top 10.
And don't forget, you can actually watch it on IMAX. Gross like the most highest grossing for IMAX re-release movies. So it's kicking ass on the cinema 10 years later.
Which
Crazy.
is actually a little shocking because I kind of went into this movie. I had never seen it. So when you guys said let's do Interstellar, I was like, yes, I love Christopher Nolan. This was right after he came off of I think Dark Knight Rises. So he had just done the Batman trilogy. He just did Prestige. He just did Inception. He was on this roll, and this movie just kind of I never sat down to watch it. I have no idea why, but it was just never on my radar. And so I was really excited to sit down and take a look.
What I think is really interesting is that last season, season 5, we started with a Christopher Nolan film, and I don't know if anybody has remembered that, but we got a Eddie. What was our score? Oppenheimer, yeah. What was that?
It was almost a perfect movie.
Almost a 0. I don't
3
think we're going to be
zeros
getting that
and,
here. Yeah, and an
a
Eddie.
little, and a little
And an
25.
So we call it an Eddie at this
I
point.
personally think Interstellar is way better than Oppenheimer, so I disagree with
hell
you.
out of
As
here.
far as
So let's start with Jeremy. You had obviously seen this movie.
Yeah. Can I say this is probably one of his least popular movies to audiences, which I don't really understand, but I do get it, you know? I think it's found another kind of like, you know, a generation of just people really appreciating it. And I think it has to deal with Hans Zimmer's score, because I think hands down, this might be his greatest score. And I just wanted to hear what you guys think about what he did with the score, because I think he knocked it out of the park. I think it's found a new life. And then what do you guys think? Do you think this is his best score, or do you think his other work is better? Because I think this is it right here.
So I'm going to disagree. A couple episodes ago, I think we did it last season or the season before, I stuck my flag in Gladiator. Gladiator to me is the best score that Hans Zimmer ever came up with. I think that, and the reason for that, I think is kind of what I said about Star Wars with John Williams a couple episodes ago, that if you look at the whole collection of music, right, from that film, I think that Gladiator has a better collection of music, though I think that the
Main
one
theme.
song that we hear everywhere, the theme, that single song, that single piece on the organ is beautiful, and that might be his greatest song, but I don't think it's his best score overall. Does that make sense? But
I
that
think
being
I
said,
hear what you're saying.
emotionally, that when you have the build that he creates with that song, and it's all through that organ and that just pulse pounding kind of acceleration of our hearts. I mean, that's the song's power, and that definitely, I think, saves a pretty lackluster film. I think that the music definitely will give us better scores from us than we would have gotten if we got just a standard run-of-the-mill score.
I personally, I kind of agree with you, Jeremiah, and I appreciate what Brandon was saying, because I was thinking it's between this and Gladiator. Now, what I've noticed is that what gave this movie some legs recently is social media, is TikTok, is Instagram, it's everything, how you post everything. People use Hans Zimmer's this everything they use in this,
Yeah.
everything you hear, you could just type it in and you'll just see amazing things
It
that
is
just
the
make you
soundtrack of
cry.
TikTok in
It's a soundtrack of this new generation, it sounds like, personally. And that's where I think long term Gladiator probably got a little lost, because it was probably ours growing up. If we had something, we would use Gladiator. It's this next generation that they're using Interstellar. If you look at all his work, he always has a main song in every movie. I personally like this. This is my favorite for Hans Zimmer personally. Gladiator's number 2. So this is 1 and 2 for me.
I got something to add to that, but I want to hear what Sean thinks.
So I recently watched the John Williams documentary on Disney Plus, and I saw his studio, and his studio at home is basically a piano, a piece of paper, and and he writes down every note that he wants to arrange in this magnum opus of a complex and many themed movie. That is not Hans Zimmer. I saw Hans Zimmer's studio, and it was basically a keyboard and a bunch of synthesizers and new age equipment, and
It's
the ability
gorgeous.
to. So I
Analogs everywhere.
yeah, it's just incredible. But I don't think you could compare someone like necessarily straight up John Williams versus someone like Hans Zimmer, because John Williams has these complex themes that run through trilogies and Batman, Dark Knight, they all have kind of one theme that is surging and swelling the whole movie. And I think this is what Hans Zimmer does beautifully, is that he takes a single theme and he swells it and quiets it and changes it and uses these different instruments as you go through this movie, and you have this wonderful, almost like a sea of music that never is really stopping but never really starts. You can't say that, oh, that's the beginning of the theme, because the theme is always swelling up from nothing. And I think this theme from Interstellar is fabulous. I think it's one of his absolute best. But I think it's a shame not to mention Pirates of the Caribbean, because Pirates of the Caribbean, to me, that is something that I will live in my head and my heart for almost ever. I
see what you're saying.
I think that the stuff that he did earlier in his career, like when he did Pirates of the Caribbean, when he did movies like August Rush and The Prestige, and he's done some.
He didn't do The Prestige. That was one of his. He didn't get a chance to do that.
He was
unfortunately.
So on The Prestige, he was the executive music producer. So
got it.
Whatever that is, I think he controlled. I think he controls a lot of the.
Pretty sure he had his finger on that.
Yeah.
It's like no, don't do that.
Even like Sherlock Holmes, he's got this style that comes out of nowhere and it hits you over the head, and it's so beautiful. I think from a strict theme, this rivals John Murphy. This rivals a lot of the great themes in cinematic history, and I will say I like this better than Gladiator, just from a technical standpoint.
Got it. I read something about Nolan. He told Zimmer to like really throw out the rule book about composing, and he said that scrap the big drums and the big horns and the strings and create something new. This is, when you think about it, and because maybe the film represents the same kind of like format, I think this is our generation's Space Odyssey 2001 Space Odyssey.
100%.
I feel like this music is our generation of that particular style here.
And I think that we need to take that and run with it, because that's what I saw. So, Sean, you were saying this is your first time seeing this movie. I saw it in theaters. I walked out of it completely disappointed. I still ran out the day that it was released and bought it on DVD because it's part of my Nolan collection.
Yeah.
But to me, and this is no spoiler for my score, this is my least favorite Christopher Nolan, hands down, because to me, this is on a story and character level, and I'm just talking story and character level. This is his sloppiest, most, I'm going to say, lazy effort in story and character. And I'll explain that more later on. But what he's done is he's seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, and he said, I want to create that. I want to create my version of that, where it doesn't need to have coherence. It needs to evoke emotion in a non traditional format, right? His point isn't to make us give a shit about the characters. We don't really care about the characters except for one scene, and we need to talk about that one scene, and that is when he comes back from the planet and he's hearing from Casey Affleck at that point, and it's kind of the scene that we always see, kind of the classic scene where he's having the breakdown. It's one of the best acting that Matthew McConaughey's ever done. But on a whole, I feel the same way about this movie as I do with 2001. It's a movie that I respect, but I can't enjoy. Though this one is much more enjoyable than 2001. Eddie?
So I disagree with you. I feel like there's so much into the characters. Everything you said, I feel like I disagree with. And I understand if you just don't understand quantum mechanics, but I feel like this is a different type of movie.
It's
that
beneath me, Eddie. That's what the problem.
Hey, you had your part, Tars. You had your part, Tars. You had your part, Tars. Okay, calm it down. Okay, so I feel like you were searching for something, and this is the movie that I felt like it was very it kept it simple in my eyes, with a story that was it was to save mankind. Like, well, it comes down to that. And so the earth would, the ultimate sacrifice. And how do you not feel any sadness for everyone? Like the first world they visited, or not the world, first planet they visited, it's an hour or 7 years, and that was like, a little shaky like 7 years ago. So it makes you
physics.
That's so I know it's about time. So it makes you think. Like I was very understanding. Every person there in that in the astronaut, they were losing something for even being on this trip. Like, and they were there for something. They were to save mankind. So I personally disagree with you. Like I felt like there was a lot of passion there of what they were there for.
I'll add to something what you're saying about that, bro. I saw something like Christopher Nolan said that Interstellar is about what it means to be a dad. And then I also read something about what Zimmer and what Nolan wrote to Zimmer about, when you write the music. It said, once we become parents, we can't help but look at ourselves through the eyes of our children. And I think Eddie's right. It's about the ultimate sacrifice. And there's a lot of that theme into this movie, where what you do for love and what you will go further into the darkness of what you need to find here. And I think that actually shows a lot into this movie.
And I think that theme, above all other themes in the movie, came through. I just don't think it was executed quite as well as other movies have done that. I mean, honestly, I know you guys shit all over Armageddon, but essentially it's the same plot. And essentially, They're going up. They're going up into the space to save mankind. They're in this movie. They're finding a new planet going through a black hole and using quantum mechanics and blah blah blah. The other one, they're drilling on a asteroid. But at the same time, I felt more emotional connection between Liv Tyler and Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck in that movie, and the sacrifices made there. And maybe that's because I didn't feel like there was that many sacrifices made. I feel like almost that Matthew McConaughey should have been trapped in the fifth dimension. He should have been able to watch his kids grow and live, but never be able to interact again, because that's the sacrifice he made. The fact that he actually got back then went back again, it kind of diminished.
Find the love of his life.
It kind of diminished the whole, it's like, to me, it diminished the whole thing. It's like, I think that part of being a father is that there are things that you have to do for your children. I'm not a father, so I'll disclaim that right away. But part of being a father, I believe, is that you have to do things that are sacrificial that your children may or may not understand. And just because they don't understand doesn't mean that they're not necessary to do. And those necessary things can create animus, and they can create angst, and they can create all this problem between father and son or father and daughter, but still the thing needs to be done. And that's what I wanted this movie to be. And so when he made it back, I felt like it was cheapened. I felt like he, and then and then Palpatine returned, and then he was back. Like, that's how I kind of felt. But I could be wrong.
He lost.
But
Matthew McConaughey lost it. He lost his family.
It is a paradox of a movie then, right?
Well, no, because here's the thing. I want to put this disclaimer up, is that I talked to one of our most devoted fans and said and promised this listener that I was going to take season 6 and I was going to find joy in life and I was going to find happiness. And to Sean's mom, I'm not going to find it right now with this movie. So I'm sorry. It'll happen maybe eventually. But here's my problem.
She did tell me about who she thought was the half gentleman, and it wasn't me, Brandon.
Yeah,
it wasn't me.
It was turn of family dinner.
Just because of White Christmas, I screwed that one. But listen, I want to say this. I would understand, Jer and Ed, I would understand 100% what you're trying to say, not succeeding. If when he returns, we didn't have this Murph is an old lady. They have this moment, and she doesn't just be like, oh, hey, it's been 100 years since I've seen you. Go off and find her. Go off and find. Like, there was that build-up moment that we were supposed to have this reuniting feeling of climactic. We didn't get that, and I just have this one other bone to pick, and then Sean, I want you to.
I got it. What are you talking about? You didn't get that.
Oh, here it is. Is Eddie? You said something that could not be further from the truth. Like, literally, you're here. This is where you're at in space.
Everything you're saying is further from the truth. You're stuck in 1999.
Right here. No, that's all the good movies.
You're stuck in Gladiator for some reason.
You said that the love of his life. When do we ever see any kind of connection between the two of them? When he sacrifices himself? Because honestly, if we're going to say that is a love story, that is the weakest love story. And he is so damn lucky that Edmonds died, which we don't even know why he died or how he died or how long it's been, because honestly, he was about to go crash and be the third wheel in a really awkward relationship, since there's only 2 people on the gosh darn planet, Ed.
So then Tars, you can agree with me that you can meet the love of your life when you're dating someone else without even knowing that the love of your life is this next person sending nets to you. You could be dating some.
We need some context.
I need to see it.
I agree with you.
No,
hold on.
No.
I agree with you in life. I agree with you in life, but in the movie, I need it. I need a little bit. I need a little bit of exposition.
I got it. I got it.
Wait.
What movie you guys are watching?
Thank you.
I'm gonna rewrite this movie for a minute, because
Host Planet, this is your first time watching this, so I don't know if you have much valid
So
points.
I wish that he had gone back, landed on Earth, even if he did all the fifth dimension stuff, and even if he put the thing in the watch and all the confusing shit that happened at the end. I wish that he would have landed on Earth and it was decimated and completely alone, and there was like a plinth or something, like there was something there, and it was his daughter, and his daughter said, well, Dad, we made it, we got to the space station that we built, but and then he makes a decision, because he's so removed from that world, then he makes a decision to go back to the black hole, to Miller's planet, to that. But that is the type of
I'd
thing
watch that movie.
That's the type of thing that I want. I want someone to take these risks, and Christopher Nolan usually takes these massive risks. And I felt like this one was like, okay, so we had the spinning top, and everyone got pissed off, so we're not going to really take this risk like we did with Inception. And I felt like it was almost too much of a happy ending, and that's coming from me. I love a happy ending. Ask Brandon. I love a happy ending.
They're not on Earth anymore, so they technically Matthew McConaughey lost. He what they did, they went out there, they didn't find another planet.
They didn't find another planet.
Yes,
So
did.
they technically it's not a happy ending. He lost his whole family.
They found Brand's
But-
planet.
But he
They're
lost
gonna
his
go back
After
to
he
the-
lost his daughter, his son,
He lost his family before he left.
it's a sad ending.
Before he left.
The whole movie's a sad
No,
movie.
he knew he lost his family the moment he got into that space shuttle and left Earth through the black hole. You knew that you were never going to see your family again, or at least you had a pretty good idea that you were never going to see your family again.
He had an idea he was going to find his family. The problem was that Plan A was never actually Plan A. Plan A was actually
Right.
Plan B,
Right.
and he wasn't aware of that. So it was a kind of slippery slope. I don't understand what movie you guys are watching. Like, you guys are like, oh, there's a love story. The love story was between him and his daughter.
For sure.
The promise
No
that he
Anne
made.
Hathaway.
There was no Anthony. I didn't see any
Good, as long
romantic
as you saw that.
connection or anything.
Eddie
I don't know
did.
what you guys are talking about.
Eddie. Well, don't say guys. It's Guy, and it's
Yeah,
Eddie.
yeah.
The love of his life.
The love of his life was his daughter.
He
his
went back
daughter
to the love of
told-
his life. He
Yeah,
went back to this
exactly.
new Earth.
Jeremiah, at the end of the movie, Murph is laying in the bed, and she says, "Go back to the love of your life," which is Anne Hathaway.
Anne
And
Hathaway.
He gets in the spaceship and goes to a
She's
black
out
hole
there.
again.
She's out
He-
there.
He says go
he-
back and
go
find
back
the
and
planet,
find-
the planet that you can actually help
Yeah.
our space
Yeah.
station, this
No.
giant
And
space station,
recreate.
recreate life. That's the whole thing. Like they're trying to find that planet.
Then
She
why
found the
show
planet that they
Edmonds
can
is dead?
actually.
Can
To say that there's room for him.
Can somebody explain something to me seriously, though? Let's say that these four people get to a planet that's inhabitable through the wormhole, and they, the data wasn't faked. Let's say the data was real. How on earth were they going to repopulate the population if the time differential between those planets and the home planet was so vastly different?
Well, that's the point. That's why Plan A
Right.
was
So they
never
had-
viable.
They also had all the cells. They were going to repopulate.
It was a whole bunch of sperm and eggs in that.
So they
in
had
the
wombs?
container.
So we're assuming that they could womb humans.
67.
2067 is a long
So
way
we're talking
away.
about it's 42 years, and you think about
Yeah.
it, Brandon. You and I would be
Talking about,
81
like, future
when
humans
2067
creating
comes.
Ooh,
the
Ed, that's making me feel
wormhole
like
and
we're nice.
the
basically,
black
we're in the
hole
Matrix.
and the Terrax. We have future humans
Invasion
that
of
we
the
can
Body
actually
Snatchers.
do things.
The main thing is they had definitely
Body
DNA
Snatchers is a
available.
sequel to this.
Okay.
They had DNA available, and then it's the possibility of still keeping humankind finding the
And
planet.
we're just supposed to assume, and I'm not shitting on it, I'm just saying, we're just supposed to assume that if the...
We're not assuming
if
anything.
the
They
planet-
had
Can I finish?
science
Can
with
I
them.
Finish, please?
Well, you're saying assuming.
Well,
We're
no,
not
I'm
assuming.
Accept it.
They brought it on
if-
the spaceship with
if you
them.
let me finish my sentence, Ed. Yeah. So we have to assume that if they got to the planet that was supposed to work and the data actually worked, that they could reproduce humankind on that planet, because that was plan B, without anybody from the original Earth. Is that correct?
Yes,
Is that the
100% correct.
assumption for the premises of this movie?
No,
So,
it's an acceptance.
but
No,
do
We have
you
to
see
no, it
that,
wasn't.
you
It was
know,
not. So
beyond
you're
the-
right.
How are they
Either way, you're
getting
wrong.
how are they getting the people from Earth to this new planet, Brand's
They weren't.
planet or Miller's planet or whatever?
They weren't.
So Plan A and Plan B was supposed to work together.
Okay.
So can I finish? I had you. So it was honestly Michael Caine he was going to figure out how to with gravity, right? They were going to try to figure out a way to survive and get everyone off the planet. At the same time, Coop and Hathaway, they had to go find another planet. So two different projects at the same time rolling, and then hopefully mankind was able to get off Earth. At the same time, Coop was able to find a new planet. So this is two different projects going. That's what I took it as.
because Murph was successfully able to solve the gravity.
But Michael Crane's
Yeah. She was
Caine.
able to
It's
solve
Caine.
it,
There's no R.
It's Caine. So
Mickey-
I guess
which allowed the launch of space stations, build more colonies and shit
I
like
guess
that.
here's my problem with this whole concept, okay? So we know to a T how many humans it would take to reproduce mankind and get it flourishing. Not that many people, like 25 people. It's like not that many people. So why wouldn't you have I guess that's the hole in the plot that I'm looking for, is have him in cryo, send him in a pod, but just mention the fact that once the colony has been established, this is how we're going to repopulate the planet. We're going to have these 20 people, and I'm not going to make this huge leap. Is that a better word? Huge leap that they have the scientific ability in 2067, which is 40 years from today. We still don't have hoverboards from Back to the Future. We still don't have fucking flying cars. We have very little things. All we have is the doors that whoosh.
Top of
That's all
that,
we've
you can
got.
get behind oil workers to go on an astronaut
No.
and actually,
Thank you.
You can get on top of that,
and he could get behind a whole new galaxy with lightsabers and with space travel and force. Okay,
there's no science
It
to
brought-
it.
it did.
It's
It-
a theory of what you're.
it's a
It's
theory.
possibility.
So
yeah,
Funny,
it's talking about the
it
fifth
makes
dimension.
something that
It's
is
talking about the fifth
theory.
dimension here, Sean.
Eddie and Jared, I'm
It's
gonna
talking
back
about
you guys up.
time. It's talking about bending time a little bit.
Eddie and Jared, I'm going to back you guys up for a second. Sean, they do explain that there are embryos in there. That is what Plan B is to repopulate. They say it, but here's the problem. And I'm on their side, Sean, just a second, and I'm jumping back to our side, and that is an underlined our, you and me, finally. So here it is. It is so buried but below the avalanche of abstract quantum physics and theories of relativity. And guess what? This is a great
Did you take
film.
that class at school?
Yes, I did. So listen. This is a great film if you're looking at it on a purely taking a textbook and making it into a film. It takes the theory of relativity and it explains it in a way that I think is pretty graspable. This idea that where there's more gravity, time slows, which then
Makes
affects
sense.
everything else. So right, that's what Einstein's theory of relativity was basically saying, and then Stephen Hawking took it and just expanded with it. Right. So okay, so we got that. But here's my problem. Is not the story in this point. It is the storytelling. And this is me criticizing who I think is one of the gods of film. Christopher Nolan was sloppy with this movie because if you look at the way in which he presents the information, to me, this movie is nothing but just him going through a checklist and basically checking off all the different kind of emotional sound bites that he needs to hit. Right? There is absolutely no coherence by the end of the movie. Nothing is matching up.
What's not matching up for you? What's not matching up? What's not matching up? I wonder what's not matching up. You're saying that. So what's not matching up?
Okay, you just have to say it once and I'll tell you. But here's the deal. The entire purpose of this man, of Cooper, is to go and return back to his daughter, right? And that is what we're building up towards. And as soon as he gets there, it's a 2-minute conversation where they pat each other on the hand and he goes off and is sent away. And then here's the thing. We have her giving this voiceover about humanity. And we've got her giving this whole purpose of him finding the love of his life, essentially, right? Which makes no sense. That all we get is just, we're trying to get the feels. That's all Christopher Nolan's doing, is he's saying, I want to get the feels from the viewers.
I'll build on what Brandon's saying, because here's my criticism is, for some foolish reason, I thought the whole purpose of their mission was to basically save mankind. Whether it was plan A or plan B, I get the twist. I get that he falsified the data. Once again, that damn Matt Damon and his stupid face. I understand that he fudged the data so that they would come and collect him. I get all of that point. What I don't understand is what happened to mankind. It was very unclear to me whether they built a space station, that's what I believe they did, but it was not really explained to me. Cooper Station, they said, but Cooper Station, so also, is Cooper his last name or his first name? And is his name Cooper?
Cooper's his first name.
Yeah. No, it's last name. It's his last name. It was because it says it was named after Dr. Murphy Cooper.
No,
you don't even know your movie, man.
So okay, all right, Eddie. So if Cooper is his first name, then how
he goes by Cooper? That's all that matters.
So how can Cooper Station be named after Dr. Murphy?
Who is this?
Cooper Station.
It was named
Because
after his daughter.
The daughter wanted it to be named after the dad.
And it would have been named after
the daughter said she also said
anyway.
You're making shit up too. Just you're not
I'm going to the Google.
It's the space station. The Earth is falling apart. They can't live there anymore. What's so hard about that? What don't understand?
What happened to mankind?
When Cooper came back, they're in this fucking big ass cylinder out in space, and they're waiting for the. Hey, did you find a planet?
How did they survive?
Hey, guess what? More than 25. More than 25, Sean. More than 25, right?
What?
You're
more than 25
on these little things like how many people survive or anything like that. The main part is humanity survive. It didn't matter.
Thank you.
Population. The whole thing is the reason why it was named after Cooper is because he's the one that was able to actually define the law.
After his daughter.
His last name.
Him,
Cooper's
but
last
see,
name.
the daughter used also Cooper,
Says
who was in the fifth
specifically,
dimension.
He says, "Oh, it's nice." The words that he uses. "Oh, it's nice of you to name a station after me," and they laugh in his face and say, "It's actually after your daughter." So
And if you look at the
just
plaque,
saying,
it says Dr. Brand
there's a
and Dr. Cooper.
problem.
But here's
Wait.
now I've got to wait.
But the part at the very end when
No.
she's old lady and
But there's no
No.
problem because she's the one that
Mhm.
figured out the gravity
Right, so
equation.
it's after her.
helping
her
with the
name is
dad.
Murphy
With the dad.
Cooper.
Yeah.
So let's
That
not
her
get
dad
hung
was
up
her
on-
ghost. Her dad was her ghost.
Where
I
are
got Jeremy
you-
question.
I'm trying to understand. Where are you coming from, Sean? You know that she figured it out and basically she saved humanity, but
So
With the help of her dad.
is his name Cooper?
his name is
That's my
Cooper.
question. I
So
can't.
we've got
You're
Jeremy
trying to find
hypothetical.
See,
things
that's
here.
that's so much small shit. It seems like
small
you're
shit,
yeah. It's
Yeah,
very
I'm
very
not.
small
There's-
shit.
there's
It
a
is.
lot
It
more.
is.
No,
There's a whole
I'm
lot
not.
more.
We solved the answer with how many people survive.
Here's why. Here's why here's why that bothers me. Because
Mm.
usually Christopher Nolan is 3 steps ahead of everyone, and I believe in this movie he wasn't. I think that
I believe he was.
very-
I believe he
that's
was.
Fine. You can have that
I
opinion.
believe he was. He
I
was
think
3
that-
steps. You can have
I
your
think
opinion
that
too.
He has a lazy storytelling. I think that the fact that he went for the love of his life without any exposition, he gets back to a quote unquote space station that we get no information about. We don't know anything about other than it's taking her 2 weeks to get there. From where? I assume from Earth. I don't know where she's coming from. She's 2 weeks away. Where is she? Is anyone? Nobody cares about that. So there's another station. There's no evidence or explanation of anything that happened. So basically, what I get from this movie is they had Plan A that was fake. They had Plan B, which is basically fake wombs and recreating mankind through the black hole. And then they had Plan C, which is Murphy.
Talking. That's all we're having right now.
And I'll tell you this
I don't
much.
even know what
there's
the hell
even
we're
like
talking
a
about, Ed, at
there's
this
a
The
theory.
wormhole.
There's a TikTok theory where this guy said that you're probably even looking at Cooper's journey to the afterlife because in the beginning of the film you see an aircraft crashing in and he wakes up. Right? It's the same
No,
image
don't give me that
of the
bullshit.
aircraft. I'm just saying, dude.
Do you believe that?
I like
I
that.
know.
I don't dislike that.
Brandon, you said that Nolan he has his images and he knows exactly what he wants to do.
Normally.
Why would he show that right there in the beginning of the movie?
Yes.
Why
Yes,
would
I
he
agree with
show the
that,
same
yeah.
image of the same aircraft crashing into Miller's planet? And this is what this TikTok was saying,
It
that you're probably looking at the journey into the afterlife of Cooper.
No, that is the
Fantastic.
same.
That
No,
makes the movie a lot better.
but no, that
I'm
pisses
just
me
saying,
off.
Nolan
That's
is
not-
Nolan doesn't miss the mark. So it makes me feel like
Tenet.
someone else is not understanding the movie.
Tenet, Mr. Mark and Tenet. Tenet was
No,
bad.
actually,
Dunkirk
I'm going to
had
say
bad
something.
pacing.
I'm going to say no.
Sorry.
Tenet to me is a far superior movie to this one. It is, and I will stand by that. No, here's the thing. If that's the case, and that's crap. It's kind of like that whole he woke up at the end of the movie and it was all a dream. I hope to God it's not that. Here's my
Vanilla Sky?
hypothetical question that I want to throw out to you guys because this is something that Jerry, you love these little hypothetical questions that you pose to us.
I
I'm
do.
going to give
Vanilla
you one.
Sky.
Ready? Would you have rather had the movie fully focus on Cooper's character and not flash back and go back to Earth? So basically get rid of Jessica Chastain's character, get rid of Topher Grace. Who, God, by the way, can we get a throw out to Topher Grace and how great it is to see him out there and acting?
No, but
still?
didn't
I
you
love
want to know what happened on Earth?
Well, yeah,
That's what you guys are
I
wanting.
don't really get it.
I hear
Brandon,
the
Find out what
don't.
happened on Earth. We didn't get
Well-
any. We didn't get
Well,
nothing.
well, Brandon's saying take it all over away and just
I wish-
completely take them away.
I would have much
Okay. rather
had some resolution on Earth about what happened after she threw the papers up, and like, oh look, and it doesn't take that long to do it. Maybe I'm a dumb audience viewer. Maybe I am the problem with film, but I want a little bit of. And this is what happened, because I feel like if you did, and this is what happened, and mankind survived. Like I love even just like on Earth, a decimated Earth with a single plant growing, like, and life survived, and just like something that wasn't just so like, oh, by the way, the girl that you met 45 minutes ago or an hour and 45 minutes ago, and you really didn't have any chemistry with, and really didn't have any actually 4 lines with, she's the love of your life. Go back through a black hole and find her. Like that just didn't do it for me.
I missed that part. I've seen this movie so many times. I missed that part where
You
it's
did
just
miss
like,
that
go
part.
and get that
Yeah, I
girl.
know.
I must have missed. No, I'm not even paying attention to that part.
I'm sorry, it's there.
It's there. I mean, that's what they're saying, right?
It's to possibly say that just Anne Hathaway, that the planet that she's on is actually the best planet,
The water
right?
planet, right.
Yeah, no,
she's
not
on-
the wave planet.
she's
No,
on
she got to a
Edmonds.
different planet.
She's on
She's
She
on
got on
Edmonds
Edmonds,
planet.
Sorry.
and
Yeah.
this whole time, yeah. So then this whole time, but like Cooper, he made it back. He made it back to technically base, right? And Murph was just like, "You don't need to stay here. I knew you're alive, and you got back to me like you promised, even though it took fucking 55 extra years, and you promised
100
me.
years.
But hey, yeah, but you took it extra time. You got back here, and it just shows like, you know what, I saved my promise as a parent. You know what, I was able to get back to you. But then the Murph was just like, well, you know what, go save humanity again.
Yeah.
Find that other planet that, you know what, that she possibly could be on. What else are you gonna do? Like, fucking go back out there. Like,
You're assuming facts and evidence. They said go get the girl. They didn't say go save humanity.
yeah,
They
just
said, go
because they
get the girl.
knew.
Go
Yeah,
watch the
just
ending.
it's Anne Hathaway,
Well,
right? And she's on the
go
planet
get the
without her
girl,
fucking
save
helmet,
the girl,
and she's
save
just
the
like,
person.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I
then you
I just needed a little
he
bit
needs
more.
to save
I just
humanity.
needed-
It just isn't.
He can. So they know where Edmund's planet is. That's A, right? And right now, Cooper's the only one that actually survived the fifth dimension. So he's an awesome fucking pilot. Okay, so this is his third go around. It seems like. So what's so hard to believe that he could technically find his path to Edmund's planet, where Anne Hathaway's
I
at,
have no
and
doubt
bring
that he
everyone on this fucking cylinder. Hey, come over here.
Then
It might be
clarify.
55 years, but hey,
Eddie,
55 years.
I have no problem with anything you're saying if it was in the movie. If he
It was in the end of the movie.
No,
Go
if
find
he
her and go
left-
save
If
humanity.
he
It's all
left,
hypothetical.
if he left, and the last shot of the movie was, and the rest of humanity embarked to find Edmund's planet through the black hole. End of movie. Christopher Nolan. Done. I'm in. But there was no exposition. There was no explanation. What was left of humanity, the dregs of humanity. Once again, I love the idea of end of the world movies. I love the idea of an arc, which this is it. This is the arc, right? Do they put in their best and the brightest? Do they put in the children? Like, just give me some context that is valuable. That's all I'm asking for.
I feel like it's love.
Okay.
It's love. It's a little bit about love. How powerful is love? Anne Hathaway talks about somehow we're just all drawn to it without knowing the real meaning behind it. That somebody could feel the same thing on the other side that you don't even know, but you just feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question, and I instead of having Eddie just get talk over everybody
You guys-
in anger. No,
You
it's
guys
okay.
are talking over
No,
us.
it's cool.
You're talking
So
over
I got
us.
a question.
You are. You have been.
Proof.
You're
right
doing
now.
it right now.
Okay. Anyway, so can we talk about Dr. Man? And I'm not talking about Eddie, who that's his cute little name he named himself. Can we talk about
Listen,
Matt
You did
Damon's
TARS, bro.
Listen. I really enjoyed this movie. However, I always felt, personally for me, that the movie jumps off the track with when we see Dr. Man. I don't really like this part of the film. I don't think it needed it. That's just my opinion, or something like that. Like,
I
oh
agree with
my
you.
God, it's Matt Damon. That's just my opinion. Just it went to its own movie, and it barely got back to where we needed to go and to finish the last third act. And
I
that's just
agree.
my opinion. I have never really liked this part with Dr. Man. I think it just was never something that I really.
It
wanted.
shows you. I feel like it shows you. Dr. Man was supposed to be the brightest of all of the astronauts that he talked about, right? That's what Matthew
I get
McConaughey. I get it. Yeah. So I was saying. So Dr. Man, it just shows you that when in doubt, when push comes to shove, and it's about to be death, he will do it. It shows you humanity will
The
be like a
selfishness
fucking
and the
rat.
betrayal of mankind.
And
Yes, I totally
the
get
betrayal
it.
of mankind
I don't.
was
I just don't like it.
it's an ugly piece of it. I agree, because it showed the ugly piece of humanity.
I don't mean to just pick on Matt Damon, because you know how I feel about Matt Damon. But once again,
Beautiful
I think
face.
the role is miscast. I think that
I agree.
someone like Adrian Brody, someone who could be calm. Matt Damon just has a real hard time just relaxing. He's always moving around. He's always doing something. Just fucking sit there. Because I would love to have, in this movie particularly, an analytical conversation that they tried to have about the future of humanity. Not an emotional one, not, oh my God, I want to get back to my daughter, not, oh my God, I falsified the data, but an analytical conversation of how to actually save mankind. And I would have rather this. I would have almost rather a great actor, someone like Ray Fiennes, or someone who has just the acting chops
I can get behind that right there,
to
dude.
go back with Michael Caine and to have an actual conversation in a dark room by a fireplace about the future of mankind, and then fast forward so that you actually have that. You have the both sides argument of why you have to lie. Sometimes there's a great line in, I believe it's U.S. Marshals or The Fugitive, and it's spoken by Tommy Lee Jones. And he says, a person is smart and intelligent. People are stupid. People together are emotional and stupid and make bad decisions. A person individually can be very smart, but when you get them together in a room, they do stupid shit. That's why we don't have majority rule anymore, because it doesn't work. And so sometimes you need calm minds to go into a situation and plot out the future of mankind like they did in this movie. And it's harsh and horrible, and sometimes bad decisions, or not bad decisions, but hard decisions have to be made. But I wish that had been the core of Dr. Mann. And I think they tried to do that, but I think it was washed away by Matt Damon's whiny, emotional approach to every role he takes.
I agree, man. It's not my favorite scene in the movie. It literally takes this amazing sequence to go into the black hole and get back on track, and the sacrifices, and it just completely puts you in a fucking whoa, what's going on here? Where are we in this cube, fifth dimension and whatnot? It's just, I never liked that part. I think
they did it to have, and granted, this is to me one of the most intense moments in cinema. I will give you, in all of movies, when they're doing the docking and he has to match the rotation.
Yeah.
That one's intense. And you talk about the music playing in, and that's what bothers me about this, is that you see Christopher Nolan being Christopher Nolan throughout this movie, right? The infamous crying scene where he's watching the video. That is such a Christopher Nolan moment. It hits you in the feels. It is, on an emotional level, on a character level, beautiful. You have the cinematography and the cinematic grandeur of the rotating
Gorgeous
docking
movie.
Scene. Music, the visuals. I mean, cinematographically, this is unbelievable. The Icelandic filming location is beautiful. It looks otherworldly. It looks different and crazy. And the tidal waves, even though that to me is just cinema, or Hollywood being Hollywood, with they escaped a 2,000 foot wave crashing down. That makes no sense that they'd be able to do that. But you know what? It is Hollywood being Hollywood, and I'll get behind it. Right. But the docking scene is great. I think, honestly, as weird as it sounds, I think they wanted to get to that point. I think Nolan's, when they wrote this, the brothers wanted to get to that point. It's like, how can we have this dip into the bottom, second act, and then springboard into this really fast-paced climactic moment?
Could you imagine the betrayal? So I think back to the betrayal of Deep Impact. That's an old movie. That's probably 1998. Yeah. Okay. And the betrayal is that they actually convinced people that there was a lottery to save mankind. There was no lottery. Maybe a couple of window dressing people out there got picked, but the concept of picking just regular Joes off the street, when they're going to save the physicists and the culturalists and the artists and the people who can perpetuate humanity, that's who they're going to pick. You know what I mean?
We kind of got that in this movie. It's kind of fucked up that the Professor Bram planted the seeds, so to say, to all the Earth leaders working together and kind of making this lie in order to save humanity.
That's
right?
My point. Is that that's what's required, because the stakes are so high. That is what's required: an analytical approach of convincing people of the lie to save humanity. Because if they had it up to them, they would have all perished. Everyone would be dead.
This is a movie that I also feel like it touched in a different aspect of, it dived a little bit deeper into black holes and wormholes, right? Like, no one knows. We haven't been there yet. So it touched really into that with a different dimension. No one could understand that next type of a movie that was what happened if you go to the black hole? I feel like personally it hit the mark there. Who knows what could happen? Is it a time travel? Is it something that is a whole nother galaxy? So it's interesting where this movie is just it's there on our fingertips, and this movie made it seem like it was possible to touch into that next dimensions.
Not only what you're saying, which is brilliant, but it's also how we perceive it, right? So our brain, the human brain, presents things to ourselves in ways that we can understand it. So you've heard of this dissonance, cognitive dissonance, where there's what you're seeing or what you're experiencing, you make sense of, even though it's unexplainable and different. Like, your brain has this trick where it plays on you and it puts it in categories that you understand. And so I like the idea. I loved the scene with him in the weird book, the weird library, the fifth dimension, where that's how he was perceiving space and time, because that's what made sense to him. It was older books and newer books, older scenes and newer scenes, flashbacks and flash forwards. It made sense to him, but who knows if that's the same as what any of us would have experienced, or any other
That would have
person
been pretty
experienced.
cool to see that more of a explanation. Like, everyone has their own tesseract.
Right.
What Cooper looks like is going through these books or something like that. Maybe someone else has a different way to explore the fifth dimension or something like that. That would have been really cool to look more into that. I agree with you if that's what you're kind of going about. Like that would have been really cool to see there.
I love the fact that this is on a physics scientific level. And I don't know physics besides just what I've gathered, right?
A lot of this shit went way over my head.
It is. And it's funny, I guess, that from the time that this movie first came out and I first saw it to now, I've always been fascinated in physics because it's something I've never been able to truly grasp. So I've tried to understand it to the best of my knowledge. And I know that I can't. I got 0.5% of understanding it. But I love the fact that it takes something as complex as physics and it provides it to us in a way that explains it somewhat, and it gives us as good of an idea of physics and quantum theory. I mean, it's not really quantum theory; it's relativity. You science geeks out there, I know it's relativity, not really quantum, but it gives it to us in a way that we can kind of understand. What bothers me, and I said this to Sean off mic, is that it presents the same exact paradox and problematic paradox that we see in almost all time travel movies. And that's the grandfather paradox. It's what we see in Back to the Future. And let me just give it to you real quick and see if this bothers you. But I'm guessing, Jer and Eddie, you guys are going to say that you're not bothered by it at all. So here's the idea, right? He gets the coordinates for NASA to go and find NASA and become the pilot that saves the world, essentially, because he has given himself the coordinates in the future, right? That he has given Murph those coordinates as a kid because he did it in the future when he's going through the fifth dimension. The problem is it's just that cycle. It's the grandfather paradox. The grandfather paradox basically says that if you were to go back and kill your grandfather, you couldn't, because then you would never be born to grow up and go back in time to kill your grandfather.
Oh, Brandon, what you don't understand is when you do that, the timeline skews into another...
We're not in Marvel. We're not in the Marvel multiverse, okay? We're talking about one through line right now.
We are
but honestly, that's the only way that you can explain it. That's the only way you can explain it. However, but by doing that...
for our understanding.
I'm sorry.
I know. No,
I was bringing
you're
some
good.
levity.
No, you did. But no, this is something that really bothered me because I'm sitting there going like, okay, I get the physics of I love that they bring the textbook theory into a cinematic movie, into a popcorn movie, right? I get it. I love that. But the problem is it still doesn't take away from the fact that this nothing could have actually happened, because there needs to be an inception, no pun intended, event in order to establish the ability for him to do this. He couldn't have done it because he never was there in the first place to start it, because he didn't give it to himself until the future.
What I got was that he started everything. That's what I got.
The only way to get rid of the grandfather paradox is to stop thinking of time as linear and start thinking of space and time being something multidimensional. Which, I mean, from a philosophical standpoint, I'm completely against that, but I understand exactly what you're saying as far as having this paradox. But we will always have this paradox on a linear timeline. If you go back and change the past, unless you were the person to actually do that in the first place and not go back, then you can't go forward.
It could have happened.
It couldn't have. It's chicken and egg, right? And so I totally get it. That didn't bother me.
I'm thinking overthinking it. Yeah.
Well, it didn't bother me as much as it bothered you, because I was lost in the other details of the movie that I thought were more obvious flaws on a Christopher Nolan vehicle that I expected him to be more, just better. I expected him to be better, yeah, because he's an auteur. He's one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest directors of our generation, if not the greatest director of our generation. And I just didn't feel like this one was quite up to. It was not as a home run that I was hoping for. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I feel like he did bit off more than he can chew with this one. I mean, I'm not going to lie. This was a Spielberg project for the longest time, and he dropped out of it, and he took control of it. So I feel like, he wanted to do something kind of like an ode to his daughter, from my understanding. Like, this is the love that I have for you here. And so I think he made a big swing at it. I think a lot of it does work. I think there's some parts of it where I'm just like, man, I wish he could have done something different. But you're talking about 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, Christopher Nolan.
Well, so
this guy, he's involved. He's Sir Christopher Nolan now. You know what I mean?
I do think that this movie made Oppenheimer the greatest movie that year. I think that what he learned on this movie, he fixed with Oppenheimer. Because what I loved about Oppenheimer was the connections. I loved that you got full circle access. You got a 360 kaleidoscope of the event and the repercussions of the event and the emotional and the physics and the impossibility. And it was just all there for me.
Well, that's what people want, though. So people want to understand. They want the missing cues. Because I would say this movie leaves the possibility of some people liking the doors that are not open, and some people are okay with watching that. Like, it's the possibility of what, anything could happen on the other side of that door. So it depends on how you look at the movie. Like, because you want every answered question, you want every question answered. That's Oppenheimer. That's Oppenheimer. That's Oppenheimer. That's Oppenheimer. You want everything, but with this movie, it definitely talks about you're thinking a little bit something that has not been completed yet, even in this day and age, where we don't understand if this even could be possible today. So he did something that I don't think we still don't understand if it's even possible.
I think it's a throwback to all the people that explored through, throughout our world and exploring. This is like kind of like an ode to the people that are fearless and the ultimate sacrifice.
And they do the impossible. They do the impossible just as an everyday job. I get that. But I guess, Eddie, what I'm looking for, if you're going to have open doors, I don't mind it. I don't mind open questions. I don't mind even if it's just unexplained.
You need answers.
No, if it's unexplained. I need it to feel intentional and not like they missed it. And I felt like he missed it as opposed to planting intentional seeds. Like, I love the answer in a movie when somebody's asking a question, a very smart person, what's going to happen? I don't know. Like that, and that was in Oppenheimer. He didn't know. He didn't know what was going to happen. But here's what we think is going to happen, but we don't know. That leaves this opening. It just. I think he learned a lot.
Yeah,
I think he learned a lot.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I just get that, like with Anne Hathaway wanting to pick Edmonds over Mans, because technically deep down inside, there's a little underlying feeling of do I miss Edmonds? I'm in love with him. Great. Well, there's this other and the Matthew McConaughey's character is like, you know what? But the last time you chose this, we chose wrong with this other last location. So it's just like you're picking out of character right now. So, we got to go with the data. There's the little areas that I feel like it hits the answers.
Right. And here's my frustration. I more than anybody I know, and that includes the three of you guys, I love the unanswered, especially the ambiguous ending. I love it. I actually don't even have that much of a problem with him leaving. I have a problem with, and I know, JR, I'm opening up the can of worms for you again. I have my problem is the reason why he's leaving to go find Brand. It's the way that it's presented to me and apparently to Sean is that this is for love, right? Because we get that whole speech about love, and then he's going off to find Dr. Brand. It's about love. So my problem isn't the unanswered question, Ed. It is the numerous amounts of unanswered questions and the fact that it doesn't root the film on a story and character level in anything that is really something that is interesting. As a father, I love the idea of of sacrificing and the importance of sacrificing and the horrors of sacrificing and the desire to get back to your kids. I can 100% relate to that. But the problem is when that is the only through line that we get, the only emotional core that we get, and that is really the only relationship that we get, because the other doctor that they're on board with that ends up blowing up, right? I loved his character. I think I would have loved to have gotten some interaction with him. I would have loved to have gotten to know him. I would have loved to give Sean something he doesn't want, and that is more Matt Damon time so that we could actually feel about him, right? The problem is there is so much, and Jerry, you're right. He bit off way more than he could chew, because all we get is, instead of a really cohesive story, instead of a story that fleshes things out, we get, to me, little pockets of interesting story and interesting character, but nothing that's fully developed.
I almost think this could have been a 2-part movie. And I don't say that lightly, because I would have really loved to dive deeper. And I felt like the subject matter didn't allow me to dive deep enough in the time given to really care about both the topic and the people.
I guess we just probably saw different films, because I actually thought I saw more of the connection between the father and the daughter. That's the moral driven of the story.
I agree.
That's what I was,
Yeah.
Maybe it's not enough, but I thought that was plenty of like, the things that you would do and to make sure that, to keep your promise to your daughter and everything like
And
that.
when he left her, she was 10. I feel like she had to be at peace with the possibility of him never coming back home. But then, you know what? I feel like he will come back home. I'm not going to give up hope, but I'm going to still live my own life and answer this question on my side that I know can answer, that Dr. Michael Caine couldn't,
I mean,
complete.
together in a way, they were able to actually save mankind.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
that's how I
exactly.
was looking at it. We have now reached the end of our review. Now it's time for each of the hosts to provide our score. So Eddie, can you please provide our scale here?
Yes, I can. 0, the perfect movie. You don't need nothing to enjoy it. 1, feel good first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, you're gonna Uber or lifting home. 4, rough morning walk of shame. I feel like you guys should have got rid of the word rough. 5, blackout, spring break, drunk. All right, if we gotta change words here, guys, let's make words
I
that
used to like saying shit face, but whatever. Fuck.
we can't say that now because we're
PG.
on YouTube. Yeah, we got PG-13. We're trying to make sure we don't get canceled.
All right. So are we texting the scores? Is that what we're doing?
We can provide our score right here. This will be
Okay.
out. So listeners, you won't be able to see this. You'll see the aftermath. All right.
You're gonna hear something good of me.
And let me know when you guys are ready.
This hurts my soul.
Hurts your soul.
Yeah. Because it's a Christopher Nolan movie.
I think you hit the mark.
All right. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
I feel like your grading scale of him is harder than regular movies, if you think about it.
Yeah, I agree.
That's personally.
3, 2, 1.
As the great host would say, that's right where it should be. That's right where it should be.
Host Planet.
Shall I go first?
Please do.
Yeah, go for it.
So I think Interstellar was a disappointing addition to what I think is otherwise a fairly good collection of movies. Everyone has their bad ones. I think Memento's out there with being bad too. So this is not my favorite film that Christopher Nolan has done, as evident by the review that I've just given. So I'm going to give it a 3.25, which is, I think, an below average movie, especially for Christopher Nolan. I do think, Eddie, I do grade Christopher Nolan. I set a different criteria for him. And I should, because he's one of the greatest directors of all time, and I expect better. So, Jeremiah.
I don't think Christopher Nolan's ever done a bad movie here. That being said, this is not one of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies, but I think this is one of his underrated movies here. It's a gorgeous movie to watch. I think it actually does work. I think Hans Zimmer's score is one of the best scores that you will ever hear. And you know what? I can watch this over again and get lost into every abyss and every wormhole. And I like this type of film and shit like that. So you know what? It's a 1 for me, guys. 1 feel-good cocktail.
And Host Planet was a 3.25?
3.25, which you're Uber lifting home with an extra half a shot.
There you go.
Brandon, what did you think?
So I'm going to just start off with the positive. I think cinematographically, this is a flawless movie. I think score-wise, music-wise, I think it's a flawless movie. I will give you guys that. To me, the problem became in conveying something that was just beyond the reaches of a 3-hour time constraint. If it was a mini series, it would have been good. If it was a full series, I think it would have been good because it would have had time to develop. And what we're missing here is development. If I'm going to want to watch a space movie, then I'm going to go with the classics, which is why I wore my Star Wars shirt right here. I'm going to stay with that. This one was just the word that I kept coming back to, and this is what I'm going to leave us with, is convoluted. It was convoluted on a character and story level. And because of that, it hurts my heart because I will go out until my death and say that Christopher Nolan is a genius, but every genius has its Interstellar. So for me, this is, I'm lifting, I'm Ubering. I'm giving it a 3.65. So it's a little bit lower than Sean, but 3.65 for me. So Eddie, kicking it over to you because I know that you're going to round out my bad choices.
You're Uber lifting home with a shot and even more.
And then I'm drinking a swig in the back of the Uber is really what I'm doing.
He's just slobber drunk in the back seat.
Sloppy drunk. He's one that would get kicked out
on the
now.
Side. It's spilled on the side of the bottle, and I'm licking it up just to get as much as I possibly can. That's really what.
Jesus, it's 9 o'clock.
I mean, it's 5 somewhere.
Can I go ahead and go so we wrap this up? This is a little bit longer episode than we were planning, guys, for this season.
Time is relative.
Yeah, you're right with that. Personally, you know what? I'm going to keep this short. This film, I personally think it encourages everyone to travel beyond your own home. So I feel like it's telling you to, set goals and go for them and start your journey and achieve what you want in life. It's saying, step outside your comfort zone a little bit. I get that from this movie. Coop had to step outside some of his comfort zones, and he lost a lot of things to provide just a possibility of saving humanity. And this also shows you, though, it's on the back end of it, he realized what he lost. It also shows love is very powerful. And you know what? It's powerful more enough beyond our own understanding and our own dimensions. Love to read something that said it could be past our understanding of time and space and past generations of distance. Love, for some reason, we could love our grandparents and they could be long gone 60 years ago. And we're going to be the ghosts of our children in the future. So it's just interesting how they were going to love us. And it's so stuff like that. It hit home for me for the parent side of this movie. And the music definitely is one of my favorite scores. So I give this a half shot, a 0.25.
0.25.
That's about what I think he gave all the other zeros. So he's basically saying that's a 0 for Eddie.
2.5.
Really
I don't give him any zeros. We have AI robots. Anything's possible.
And divide by 4. What does Interstellar get an average rating of?
It gives us a great score, guys, of a 2.0375. That's a great score of 2.075.
Sean,
I'm saying great score because
a little bit higher.
No, I think that gives us, it's right above Happy Buzz, barely above a Happy Buzz.
I think that's at a 4.5, by the way, just so you know. And Jeremiah, when we take that 2.3075,
no, 0.375.
Yeah, 2.0375.
Which I don't understand how we can do that.
Where does that put us on the list of films that we have reviewed thus far?
Number 54 on our list here.
It's number 54. So what is better than Interstellar?
Dune Part 1, Bad Times at the El Royale, Sneakers, 3:10 to Yuma, Some Like It Hot, Parasite, Fight Club, Young Frankenstein.
I don't agree with Parasite. What is
I don't
worse?
agree with Young Frankenstein, but
what
hey.
is worse?
Oh,
What is worse than Interstellar?
In to Watch, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Goonies, Watchmen, Lawrence of Arabia, Quiet Place.
Yes,
John Wick.
way. This
Eddie,
movie's way better than
you are
that fucking movie.
you are such a turncoat. You are such a freaking turncoat.
It was way better. This movie's way. Can't wait to do Casablanca.
Watchmen was better than this,
Yeah,
I think.
We're not.
No,
I'm not giving my greats to you anymore. No more greats are coming in.
No, he said like you can't look at my greats anymore.
Interstellar.
No more.
I have a soft spot
You
for it.
can't have my
A very
new
soft
movie.
spot for it.
Anyway, so I'm sorry, Jeremy. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So we've got Lawrence of Arabia. What else was worse?
Oh, I'm sorry, everyone. We have also it's a Quiet Place, John Wick 2, Tombstone. I mean, that's where it's at here.
Yikes. Okay.
We're
All
hard
right.
with a lot
Well,
of movies.
I will say, like I always say, it's where it's supposed to be. So, and what?
You know what? You know why I like this movie? 2014, and maybe Brandon just doesn't appreciate it, but I do. It's the year I became a parent, so that's why I gave this.
Yeah, I became a parent that same year, and guess what? I actually
He still hates it.
still don't feel a connection. My
Still
gosh,
not his favorite movie. Sorry, still not his favorite movie.
Listen,
But it's what's so funny is like it's a Christopher Nolan movie, dude. It's like it's gonna have an impact on whatever we watch with cinema. It is what it is, man. It could be his worst movie, it could be his best movie. Christopher Nolan just has that power, dude. Simple as that.
He does. Jeremiah. With that said, what are we having next week?
I believe Brandon is gonna take that role here for me. Second.
I am.
So
Yeah,
Brandon,
thank you.
go for it, buddy.
Right. Okay. All right. So next week we're going to be reviewing Nosferatu, Robert Eggers' newest creep show. This film is only in theaters, and we can't tell you how important it is to continue to see movies as they're intended to be seen, and that is up on the big screen with digital sound, because there's nothing like walking into a lobby and hitting that wall of buttery popcorn smell and sitting down in a dark room and knowing that you're going to be entertained one way or the other. So I'm excited to talk about this one, and I hope that you guys are too.
Can't wait. I heard that there's a big dong in this movie.
And we got some shout outs.
Wow, how am I supposed to spill off what Jeremiah just said? We want to give a shout out to areas where we have listeners. So today we want to reach out and thank Orem, Utah. Thank you, Orem, Utah. Chicago, Illinois.
Hey, Chicago, what's up?
Tampa,
Florida, what's up?
And then Mexico City. Mexico City is what I have on my list.
That's what I'm talking about. What's up?
International-ish.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
we say gracias.
For this season, we really want to get some more listener participation. We've streamlined our whole process. So please, the only way to contact us now is through Instagram at the Gentleman Podcast. There you can see all of our updates on what movie's coming next, our Gentleman Weeklies, and then it'll direct you over to our YouTube page where you can see all that. You could direct messages right on Instagram, or you can leave us messages in the comments. But we really want to engage with you. We want to hear what you think. We want to get some ideas for what movies to do. And we want you to engage with our YouTube channel and hit that bell and subscribe and make sure that we're growing. We're trying this year. We're trying to make a go of this as, hopefully some sort of a monetary investment, which would be fun. So at least to cover some costs. So additionally, we ask that you leave a review, a 5-star review wherever you're listening. Give us write it down. It'd be really helpful. We're really excited to bring you a combo of new films in theaters, classic movies, and some groundbreaking television shows like Stranger Things, the final season of Stranger Things, Season 2 of Wednesday, and The Last of Us, respectively, and maybe more. Please make sure you check us out on Instagram at the Dot Gentleman Podcast. The dot means a lot. Get more details about every episode, our drinks, and all that good stuff. Thank you so much, and we just want to say cheers to everyone listening. Happy New Year, and let's start 2025 with a bang.
We're like,
Cheers.
what year is this?
Here's to season 6,
Cheers.
guys.
Cheers, gentlemen.